Bernice, a lot of interesting conversation points for you. I can't imagine. You'll be spoiled for choice as where to start from, I'm sure.
Definitely, Daniel. And we've been monitoring the events across the country, listening to you touch base with some of our correspondents in different constituencies. And we'll just zoom into the conversation right away. I've been joined by Mr. Kofi Bentil. He is Vice President of Imani Africa. He was with us yesterday. Thank you so much for joining us once again.
Thank you.
And Dr. Priscilla Chumesi Bafo. She's a senior lecturer at the University of Ghana. So like Daniel said, we definitely have a lot of talking points. Let's start off with Ayawasa West Wuogon. It's been confirmed now, Lydia Al-Hassan retained that seat for the NPP. And yesterday you were talking about this, Mr. Bentil. There have been reactions to the performance by John Dumelo. Some say he's done extremely well. Others think, well, that doesn't matter. He lost anyway. What's your opinion on that?
Well, my opinion is same as yesterday. Those two have to be commended, okay, for many things. One, they both ran very, very good campaigns. And Ayawaso itself, being what it is, coming from the last election, the violence and the probes and everything, came with a certain baggage. And you can see this time round, we didn't have any such reports, all right? And it is not because that battle was not fought hard. Okay, it was fought very hard. And for that, we commend John Dumelo. John Dumelo put up a credible, good fight. And if he had won it, he would have been totally entitled to win it. So that is to his credit. And I don't think the margin of loss was that much. But Ma Lydia also, I think at a point, noticed that John was a formidable contestant. He was a formidable opponent. And she stepped up. She came with her own baggage, which is she was riding on the coattails of her husband. So she was not there in the beginning, more or less, as of her own rights. And if she had been beaten this time, then the story would have been, oh, people can do anything without their husbands and da-da-da-da-da. But when John threw the challenge, she stepped up. And she stepped up and ran a solid campaign, okay? You know the controversy in the last weeks about John being a celebrity and the things that were said.
Yes.
She brought on celebrities to counter John's celebrity appeal, and forced John to also bring other celebrities to counter her appeal. Okay? So they really fought this hard, and they must be commended. Then again, they collaborated in a very, very mature way, okay, for the good of Ayawaso. And that's why I say it's a model competition. They were having walks together. They were showing, up with each other and telling their people, look, let's vote in peace, etc. And they've had an absolutely fantastic election over there. The results show that nobody really lost that place. I think Ayawaso is a model for how election contests must be run. It's a win for this country. I encourage John to stay in there. He has shown himself to be a credible politician. He's as good as any. Lawyers can be politicians, teachers can be politicians, businessmen can be politicians, actors and celebrities can also be politicians. And he has shown himself to be as good as any. If he thinks he wants to continue to do this, he will have the blessing of all of us. So, again, we are happy with what has happened with Ayawaso. And we think both of them are winners, and they must be commended for what has happened.
Talking about the baggage Ayawasa West Wuogon came with reminds me of a conversation I had with someone who votes in that constituency and said at her polling station, the election materials didn't arrive on time. We had the easy response to that. But she says one woman in the queue said, look, you people should bring this thing early. We don't want any tag this time round. So I think apart from the politicians themselves, the voters in that constituency, most of them didn't like the tag of being a violent constituency. And so they really worked hard at avoiding any incidents this time round. But let me come to you, Doc. We've seen again Ma Lydia retained that seat for Ayawasa West Wuogon, and we've been told that this constituency cannot be said to be one belonging to any particular party because of the voting patterns and how we've seen really close margins. So each party has to work really hard. It's not a comfortable seat for any one of them.
Very well. I perfectly agree, and I like the the competition that went on. So you could see that although it was an incumbent seat for the ruling party, they really had to work hard at maintaining that seat. And like Mr. Bentil said, we have to commend John Dumelo for the fight that he put up there. Indeed, you can tell that the constituency is very diverse. I mean, it's got its own needs, and Honorable Al-Hassan really stepped up. And most of us had, initially, people had issues, and the whole idea of women coming up to the fore because they've had to inherit a constituency or another because they lost a husband. I mean, she really came in on that ticket, and that presupposes that she probably did not come in on her own, but she was pushed into it. But this time around, you could tell that she really fought hard and fought for the seat, and that it's. I mean, we can pat her at the back and say that, yes, she has done a great job. She has proven that she's credible to be there because she's fought well. The margin was just about a little over 2,000. So you see that this is not a very safe seat for anyone. And nobody can afford to sleep on the job because the fight that John put up, even as a first-timer, I think that the parties need to think through and deliver on whatever promises they make to the constituents, because it's not a safe seat for anyone.
The results are still trickling in, and we've received 107 out of 275 constituencies, and there have been some major upsets for incumbents who also served as ministers or are still serving. We're still in the first term of President Akufo-Addo. That's if he's able to win again. And George Anda, who is Deputy Communications Minister, lost the Ewutu Singer West seat. Barbara Ashayisi, who is Deputy Education Minister, lost Cape Coast North constituency. You have Yabuabing Asamoah Adentang. He is not a minister per se, but he worked as the Communications Director for the NPP. And Anthony Cabo, who is also a minister, he lost his Laura seat. It brings to mind the conversation about ministers being MPs and MPs being ministers. I mean, there are other ministers who retain their seats, like the Information Minister, Kojopo Nkrumah. But what does this picture paint for you, Mr. Bentil?
There's a suggestion that there's some sort of issue with parliamentarians being ministers and how that affects their fortunes as parliamentarians. I don't see a trend there. Okay. Because like you said, Kojo won and a couple of people won. The thing is, if you're a parliamentarian, you must appreciate the dynamics of being a parliamentarian, and the structure of our politics is such that you need to keep a very close touch with the people on the ground. Now, if you're a minister, some people believe it gives you an advantage actually to do that, because you have more connections, you have access to more resources than if you were just a parliamentarian. That's what people believe. And so it depends on how you apply yourself. So if you ask me, I'll say these people lost fair and square, and it's not because they were ministers. Indeed, if they are ministers, that should have given them an advantage, all right? So we should be careful how we put that. I have a general issue with, parliamentarians being ministers, and that's something that at Imani, we're going to take up with other CSOs, working towards a constitutional review. Parliamentarians should not be ministers. I mean, it breaks the divisions that we need to have in government, the separation of powers, okay? And that is part of the reason why our parliament has been ineffective. And our parliamentarians have been moribund. A lot of them have been beholding to the executive because many of them are looking up to get ministerial positions because of the advantages thereof. And I think if we left parliamentarians to just be parliamentarians and there was no chance of you being a minister, they will focus on being parliamentarians, which will include taking on the government when they need to. Too many things have happened, and they happen because parliamentarians just didn't do their jobs as parliamentarians to scrutinize the government and force the government to do the right things.
Are you suggesting that, let's take this government, for example, the ministers all belong to the ruling party or the governing party? Are you suggesting that if they're not ministers, they would have the capacity and audacity to take on their own government?
Yeah. Yes, they will. You see, And there's a reason why Parliament is there. Parliament is there to be a check on the executive. So that's their job anyway. Number two, if you went into Parliament and you knew there was zero chance of you becoming a minister, and that your survival as a politician or a parliamentarian means you have to be a good parliamentarian, then you will focus on being a good parliamentarian. Uncle Jones Oforiatta of blessed memory just passed, and his claim to history, amongst other things, is that he was able to withstand a government budget and get other parliamentarians to join him in returning a budget of their own government. And that is the job of Parliament when there's a problem, to look at it and know that this is what my job is, and to return the thing and have it well done. Okay, today we can't think of that happening. Why? Why? Because you are afraid to offend the executive. Why? Because you're looking for a ministerial position in the executive. Why? Because 50% of the ministers are coming from Parliament. Okay, and that is one of the biggest problems in our democracy. Now, in terms of what's going on with people losing or winning, all these dynamics play a bit, all right? But at the end of the day, I think we are not getting the best from our parliamentarians. And if there are people on the ground are refusing them, it may or may not be their entanglement with the executive. I do think that their entanglement with the executive gives them some advantages, but it makes them more ineffective as parliamentarians. To the extent that it causes them to lose their seats, I think it's their own undoing. Because like we said, some have managed to win their seats. I think these people simply didn't impress their people enough. And if people were looking up to them for development, for instance, that's also part of the problem with our structure. You shouldn't be looking up to your parliamentarian for development. Their job is to make laws, one, and two, hold the executive to account.
Let me come to Dr. Chumesi, and let me just make this quick correction. Barbara Ashayisi used to be Deputy Minister of Education. She's now Deputy Minister for Works and Housing, and she lost her seat. But let me come to you, Doc. Isn't the politician part of the problem? The fact that people look up to them for development. The argument is when they step out to campaign, they promise the people development.
Definitely. So, like you said, what do we expect from our parliamentarians? What do they go out there to tell the electorate? So, for example, if somebody walks into an average home in Ghana and says that I am going to help with policies and scrutinizing government policies that's come through Parliament and laws and all that, do you think that will be enticing enough for the average Ghanaian? So you see, over time, politicians have crafted this whole developmental agency thing for themselves. So MPs are expected to deliver roads. MPs are supposed to produce, generate, provide electricity, water, whatever. So they are seen as developmental agents. And until we get to the point where we see that, no, we need to pause and think through and know that these are legislative arm of government. And for that matter, their jobs are not supposed to be like that. I mean, those who are in government would always have the advantage. And like Mr. Bentil said, ministers have the advantages that come with them being MPs and ministers, but it also comes with a baggage. So, for example, you are an incumbent MP who holds a ministerial position. Yes, you have connections. You can lobby for developmental, for development to your area, which can help maintain you in. But on the other hand, when there's a backlash, when people are not satisfied, when people are not seeing what they ought to see, they think that you are in a position to be able to bring that development to them. So sometimes you see that even MPs that are not ministers, they are more in touch with the community. They attend funerals, weddings, every time they are back in the constituency. But the ministers are busy. They travel around. They have to, take up and undertake their ministerial position. So it's a balance. How do you balance it? And how do we get the electorate to understand some of these things? But at the end of the day, it's politics and everybody is in it to win. So it has its own cost and benefits. And you need to know exactly, for example, the ministers that are maintaining their seats, what are they doing differently? And what is making them still enticing to their electorate rather than others who are not. So it's it's a balance which is quite tricky for some people to maintain. But the point is we need to have a conversation as to exactly what are the expectations of MPs. But at the moment, it's all about infrastructural development, which should not be so.
How do we correct this? Because I'm just thinking about what you said. An MP or someone who hopes to be in Parliament walks into an average home and cannot say, look, I'm going to lobby for this law, I'm going to do this. They have to promise stuff. So there's a certain demand they have to meet if they want to be in Parliament. And the people also hold them to those promises and expectations when they come, which in turn creates a problem between local authorities who are responsible for that development and these MPs who may be ministers. And then you see our governance is not clear cut. We are just mixing everything up in the long run. How do we get on track, Mr. Bentil? How do we, because we can't keep saying that, oh, that's what the people want, so we want to give them, or else we'll still be like this in 20 years to come.
The benefit of working in a think tank is that I have had the luxury to think through that.
Great. Share with us what you've been thinking about.
We don't have any better work to do, so we just sit back and think through stuff like this. But what you've just described is a real problem. And the first thing I'll do is to explain how you get to that problem. Structure regulates behavior. Structure regulates behavior. When you get to a T-junction and there's a slip road by the side, that's a structure. That's a hard thing. Using the slip road does not put you in 90-degree conflict with people using the main road. So that structure makes you take a tangent off, and so you ease into the main road easily. If there is no slip road on the side, then you have to go in at a 90-degree, and you are in worse conflict with those on the road before you can negotiate and will get accidents, etc. I'm using that to explain why our parliamentarians are in the kind of situation they are in. Okay, you have a situation where you are putting the people directly against the electorate, and you are making them solicit votes directly from them. The people's immediate need is not the law that the parliamentarians are going to make. Their immediate need is the road, is the school, is the hospital. So that structure will regulate their behavior. They would ask these people, if you want my vote, it's not the law I'm minded about. I'm minded about the school for my kids, the road, and then the hospital. And then the parliamentarian, to knowing that I'm going to go and make laws. That structure is creating a situation where they cannot talk about the law they are going to make. Because if they want your vote, then they have to tell you what you want to hear. So they tell you, I'm going to bring you the school, bring you the road, and bring you the health facility. So that structure has forced our parliamentarians to campaign as if they were district chief executives. Meanwhile, it's the district chief executives who get the money, have the legal and other social and other mandates to deliver on these things. They are left free. Again, the structure determines their behavior. They are beholden to the people in Accra who appoint them. So they don't care about what people want on the ground. They care about what the people in Accra who appointed them want.
Pleasing their bosses.
Yes. Okay. So having thought through this, I can tell you clearly, it is the nature of our constitution which creates this problem. And we will not solve it because structure regulates behavior. If we ever get to amend our constitution, if I had my way, we will elect DCEs directly, and DCEs will elect parliamentarians. Because the laws enable the DCEs and co to do what they need to do. So they should be answering to them. Okay? And at a higher level, if you are, the person who is going to make sure that you think through the law, etc., then you must be in such a position that you can appreciate what laws do, how to make laws, and other things that, for instance, in our parliament today, there is no chance, of certain parliamentarians appreciating. With all due respect, English, for instance, is not even a prerequisite for getting into parliament, but laws are written in English. Okay, so these are structural things that we need to deal with, and honestly, that is the next order of business if we are going to do something to make this 20-something-year-old constitution work better for us. And that's what we are seeing on the field. Okay, people are going to their electorate and they are demanding, why haven't you done the road? It is not for them to do the road. And they are not making that demand off their DCs. And yes, people are falling because of that, and all the things that are happening, including DCs challenging parliamentarians. Okay, so we need to fix that structure.
Well, this is your election headquarters, and it's brought to you in an association with Petrosol. Clean fuel in full quantity is always a delightful experience. Cowbell Coffee, taste it, love it. McDan Shipping and Logistics Limited, your total logistics partner. Pad Ever Limited, your home of modern furniture. DDP Outdoor Limited, serving great brands. Festiva, adding flavors to your life. With 3-year lotteries, star 787 hash, Ghana's premier and biggest jackpot lottery and HEPA Plus mixture for your general well-being. And we've been receiving results from constituencies across the country, and Mr. Bentil was just sharing with us his thoughts on clear-cut lines for governance structure, MPs, DCEs, and all that. And that conversation came about because we've received some news that some ministers who are MPs have just lost their seats, and we've got George Anda, who is Deputy Communications Minister, losing in Ewutu Senya West. Barbara Shaisi, Deputy Minister for Works and Housing, losing Cape Coast North constituency. Anthony Cabo Laura, he's also Deputy Minister for Roads and Highways, losing that particular one. And so that's why we were having that conversation, and we'll be having a lot more here on your election headquarters. But let me tell you more about those who are helping us bring you coverage across the country. And well, before I do that, let me share with you some COVID-19 prevention tips. Face, hugs, and sharing of personal items. Avoid touching your face because you can get the virus on your hands from touching surfaces like doorknobs, laptops, and cell phones. Also, avoid touching your mouth, nose, and eyes, or biting your fingernails to prevent the virus from getting into your body. Do not shake hands and hug people, at least for now. And do not share personal items. Cover your mouth and nose when you cough or sneeze. And Let's Read is brought to you by Pebby Club. Success is just a book away, and Papa's Pizza, taste it, love it. And Salt and Light Music Ministry and your favorite choir, the Harmonious Chorale, present a festival of 9 lessons and carols, a virtual edition to celebrate the one whose birth we commemorate at Christmas. He is Jesus, wonderful counselor, mighty God, everlasting Father, Prince of Peace, Isaiah 9:6b. Well, it's on Sunday, 13th of December 2020, and it's at 5 p.m. That's 1700 GMT. Subscribe to the Harmonious Chorale Ghana YouTube channel, and come, let's together fill our hearts with the peace and joy that Christmas brings. For further information, contact 02681 30615, 0243 588 467, or 0302 772013. Now, there's great news for sales. With EcoBank Pay GQR, there are no payment restrictions as we collaborate towards a common goal. As customers stay home, maintain social distance, and stay safe, do not worry. EcoBank Pay GHQR allows customers to make contactless payments from anywhere, in store or online, from any bank account, any bank card, or any mobile money wallet, using their phones safely and conveniently. Make the move today and reach more customers with the new EcoBank Pay GHQR. For enquiries, call EcoBank on 0302 213 999 or 247 toll free. That's 24 hours toll free on 3225. EcoBank cares. Remember to put in place measures to ensure the safety of your staff and customers. Hashtag stay safe for business. EcoBank, the Pan-African Bank. And Star Fresh Gel Card is made with the highest quality perfumes and is available in 4 perfectly blended fragrances to keep your home smelling fresh. We've got strawberry fresh, lavender fresh, fresh linen, lemon fresh. Well, here's how to use it. You just have to peel off the aluminium foil at the back of Star Fresh Gel Card and let Star Fresh Gel Card do the rest of the magic. You can buy Star Fresh Gel Card at your nearest leading supermarket or your nearest shop. Next time you go out shopping, make sure you ask for Star Fresh Gel Card Air Freshener, and it can be used in your bedroom, car, kitchen, washroom, office, and you'll be amazed by its soothing scent. For bulk purchases, you can call 050897 5275 for directions and for purchase, and they are located at Okaishi Market near Bicycle Lane. Star Fresh Gel Card, it will make your day magical. And just by way of information, if you cannot reach us on iTunes, please don't worry. Things just got better. You can listen to us online on our websites, myjoyonline.com and adomonline.com, and through myjoyonline.com and adomonline.com mobile apps on the App Store, Google Play Store, and Huawei App Gallery. Please download our apps and get all the news, music, sports, entertainment, and more. And do you wish your child could read much more than they do now, or do you have a child who loves to read and needs variety of engaging educational materials? Then sign them up on Pebby Club's online reading community today to indulge them in serious reading program even as they stay home because of COVID-19. At Pebby Clubs, we are all about reading. Reading is the gateway skill that makes all other learning from literature, mathematics, science, history, etc. possible. Research shows that a child who reads does better at their schoolwork and future career. At Pebby Clubs, your child gets access to thousands of ebooks and activities that are derived from school curricula. We make reading fun for your child by giving them a multi-sensorial reading and learning experience, including reading challenges, crafts, quizzes, and fun competitions, in the most exciting ways that makes them want to read and read some more. Subscription is 120 CDs a quarter or 400 CDs for upfront annual payment. Call us on 0302 0307 000502 or visit pebbyclubs.com to join us read. Pebby Clubs, success is just a book away. And there you have it. This is your election headquarters. I'm Benes Abubedulansa, Studio 997, still with my guests, Mr. Kofi Bentil, who is Vice President of Imani Africa, a think tank, and he's been sharing with us some of the things they've been thinking about. And Dr. Priscilla Chibesi Bafo is a senior lecturer at the University of Ghana. Okay, there's a lot more to talk about as the results trickle in. We have 107 of the constituencies coming through. There are 275 of them as it stands now. If you're watching us on television, you'd see that we've put the figures there in terms of what they mean for the NPP's Nana Akufo-Addo and the NDC's John Dramani Mahama. And so we'll be sharing more of those with you when we hand over to Daniel, who is at our JoyNews studios. But let's continue the conversation. So, Mr. Bentil, you ended on that bit of reviewing our constitution, because it comes down to that, the structures, and what we must do to ensure that our governance and politics is really what we picture it to be, and the reality on the ground. Doc, I don't know what you think about that, whether we should amend our constitution to reflect what we desire or amend it to reflect what we are seeing.
I think we should amend it to reflect what is the best standards, really. So the concept of decentralization has been a very murky area in Ghana. So like Mr. Bentil said, DCEs have all the power at the local level, but they are not answerable to the people, because they are not elected. So it becomes quite a tussle every time between MPs and DCs, especially in areas where you have an MP who doesn't have a government in power. So an opposition MP would always be struggling with the DCE as to what to do, because the DCE would not also want to be delivering on the promises that the MP has made, because it makes the MP popular. So I believe that we need to have a clear focus, think about what exactly we are looking for, because our constitution has come of age, things are changing with time, and we need to look at it and look at best practices. So it's not about now MPs are promising and opting to be developmental agents, so we amended to make them be developmental agents. It ought to be amended for best practices to give us what would deliver the needed development that we are looking at the local level. Really.
All right, thank you, Jock. And like I said, if you just joined us, this is your election headquarters, Joy 99.7, and also on JoyNews on TV. There are a lot of strong rooms across the country. We even have our own here. We are taking you now to the MPP strong room, where my colleague Elton Brobe is standing by. Here, we are taking you now. To get ready. We'll take you there shortly, though. But I mean, this issue of strong rooms is quite exciting because you have the MPP saying we have our own strong room, we are winning. The NDC says, well, in our strong room, we are winning. We, as a media house, have our own strong room, and we are putting out the certified results as and when we receive it. The EC has a strong room, and definitely we know by constitution and law, the EC is mandated to tell us who will win eventually. What we do here basically are projections and to call the elections. On the eve of elections, Mr. Bentil, the EC chairperson, Jane Mensah, made an appeal to the political parties, saying, look, kindly desist from holding press conferences and announcing yourselves as winners. But we are seeing it. It's happened. As at a few minutes after 12, the NDC had a press conference this morning after 12 midnight, and the MPP followed shortly at about 3 a.m. They clearly don't agree with the EC chairperson, and, well, they're doing it.
Well, you don't expect them to do otherwise. And for me, yes, I've seen the notices from the EC, even to the media, saying you shouldn't be calling the election. I think they shouldn't bother themselves sending those notices. And if they do, they shouldn't expect anybody to respect them per se. And then we should also appreciate that there's nothing wrong really with that. Politicians politic. Politicians give all kinds of impressions, including impressions that are not entirely honest. Okay? And the electorate will figure them out. But the bottom line is that it is the EC that determines who has won.
All right, Mr. Bentil, I'll come back for us to talk about the potential of the political parties doing that, whether it has a potential to foment trouble or violence.